A snowy mountainous region. Goblins stare down their ancient foe, the Dwarves. But why on this occasion have these two armies entered into the fray against each other, with blood on their minds? Well, this particular Dwarf army, fresh from a series of impressive victories over various forces of renown in the south, have worked their way up into the mountains, and they have buried various chests full of loot that they acquired during those battles all over this region. Little did they know, however, that Goblin spies were watching their every move, and the Goblin forces were immediately dispatched to retrieve some of that sweet, sweet loot. The Dwarves do not like the sound of losing any of their precious gold to the filthy green hands of the Goblins, so of course they are ready to defend that region with their lives. So we have the control scenario. The battlefield is divided into 6 2-foot by 2-foot squares, and each one of those will be worth victory points at the end of the game for the army that is controlling it, on unit strength of course. And the central area in your opponent's half is worth double victory points, so it's very important to claim that one, or to prevent your opponent from claiming your own. So let's go through the forces, shall we? Let's start with the noble forces of the bearded, smelly, fat dwarves.
So on the left flank for the dwarves, we have a host of berserkers on brocks. We have a troop at the front. Just behind them we have a regiment with the Brew of Strength, and a lord in front of them with the impressive Blade of the Beast Slayer. Moving into the centre, we have 3 regiments of Ironclad, all on the front line, with a battle driller stuck in the middle. Behind the battle driller there's an army standard bearer with the banner of the Griffin. An Earth Elemental Horde behind them, just to support them, and 2 flame belchers on either side. And then moving slightly past them, just past the field, there's a battle driller. Not sure where he's going to go, so he's just positioned himself sideways. And next to him, going down onto the right flank, there's another unit of Brock Riders with the Potion of the Caterpillar, and a Lord with them with the Blade of Slashing. And in the corner, just tucked away out of sight, is a king with the wings of the honey maze.
His helmet will be flapping furiously.
Yes.
Onto the foul, sneaky forces of the Orange Goblins, in their home territory no less. So, on this flank we have Trolls, a horde to be precise, backed up by Harambe the Troll Bruiser. Behind them you can see the first of the big rock throwers. Next we have a horde of Spitters. And then we're back in Troll Country, we have 2 more hordes of Trolls and another Troll Bruiser right between them there. And behind that lot you can see the second of the big rock throwers. Moving down, we have a Moorbeast regiment. We have a Rabble Horde. We have 3 War Trombones right there. And next to them we have a Bigot with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. Over on this flank we have a regiment of Fleabag Sniffs, another regiment of Moorbeasts, a Whiz with the Inspiring Talisman, and the 3rd big rock thrower. For anyone who's interested, after deployment, the Goblins have 45 minutes 43 seconds left, and the Dwarves have 46 minutes 22 seconds left. So the Dwarves, with that wealth of experience at Clash of Kings under their belt, have got that deployment down to a fine art. Okay, it's time for the roll-off to see who's going to get the choice of going first or second, and here we go. And the Dwarves have won it, so stay tuned to find out whether they choose to go first or second. Dwarf turn 1 is in the books, and very little action, no long-range shooting, and of course Dwarves aren't renowned for their speed, so there has been an advance all the way across the battlefield though. As you can see, the individuals on this side have made it a fair bit further than most. In the middle, this big, slow, lumbering block of death is very slowly working its way up towards the woods, and over here the various berserker units have also made their way up. You can see on the clock there that it didn't take very long at all, that turn, as you can imagine, since it was just movement. So apparently the thinking of the dwarves here in going first was that the rock lobbers are aimed squarely at their heads, and I do have a knack of rolling 5+ with those rock lobbers. The last few times they have performed very well, so they want to get right in the goblins' faces and give those rock lobbers as few turns, most likely, to shoot as possible. So, going into goblin turn 1. Time to drop some rocks. Goblin turn 1, and there's been something of an advance, but it's a measured advance, because there's lots of shooting to be done as well. So down here you can see these more beasts have turned round. They're out of range of the Brocks for a potential flank charge, so they're not worried about that, and that allows them to then cover anything down here, thinking this bad boy that could get charged at any moment. The War Trombones and the individuals are all hiding behind my other units, because they don't want to get charged by these individuals here. So we'll see how that particular battle of wits plays out. You can see that all the rock lobbers took aim at these Brocks, which resulted in 11 damage. 2 of them hit, one of them did significantly better than the other, it should be mentioned, and they also took damage from the Fleabag Sniffs, who only moved a little bit to the side. So, as we move down, you can see that the Trolls and the Morbeasts have moved up, not to within charge range yet, biding their time, and over here, it's a little game of chicken going on. Who's going to advance onto the hill first? Is it going to be the Trolls and Harambe the Bruiser, or is it going to be the Berserkers? Because at the moment they cannot charge each other because they're all height 2 and so is the hill. So we'll see how that one develops, but at the moment it doesn't look like anyone's eager to get themselves killed. So that's everything. Not a hugely long turn for the Goblins there, and going into Dwarf turn 2. There are some charges open, so we might see some combat this time. Also, the Goblins are now down to 38 minutes, 4 seconds. Dwarf turn 2. And down here you can see that the Flying King decided he was going to flap his little helmet to his heart's content and fly into the Morbeasts. You can see he only did 3 damage though. The Berserker Lord on Brock did have a little bit more success. He did 4 damage to the Fleabag Sniffs and was able to waver them. They didn't like that one bit. They don't like it up 'em. And over here, the Brocks, who have been heavily damaged, decided to take out their frustrations on the rabble. 10 damage on there, but couldn't waver or remove them. And you can see the Battle Driller poised behind them as well. So lots of charging over on this flank. In the centre, the big block moved up so that they were somewhat within charge range, but there aren't combo charges available, which is what they were trying to avoid. So they've stayed out of charge range of combos, but there are some individual charges available should the Goblins choose to take them. And down here, both units of Brocks had enough of this waiting game up onto the hill, staring down the Trolls, and the Berserker Lord has just parked himself right in front of Harambe the Bruiser. So still no shooting from the Dwarves. No kills yet, but damage has been inflicted, and the Goblins will be hoping to inflict some kills on their turn 2 right now. You can see that the Dwarves are down to 33-15 after the end of turn 2. Goblin turn 2. And as you can see down here, the Morbeasts countercharged the King with his flappy helmet, and they actually did 7 damage, which is quite impressive. Not enough to get rid of him though. Down here, these Fleabag Sniffs being wavered kind of hampered what the Trombones could do, so they're all continuing to hide from the various individuals on show around here. This Trombone decided he was going to shoot at the Brock Lord, and it did 2 damage. Obviously not enough to get rid of someone with such high nerve though. And here you can see the rabble countercharged the damaged Brocks, and then these guys, these lovely Morbeast balls, into the flank, and that was enough to kill them, and the Morbeasts have turned to face the tide of Dwarves over there, just in case anyone was thinking about charging them in the rear. They wouldn't have liked that one bit. The Trolls have positioned themselves so that they're all going to be able to charge unless the Dwarves start moving backwards, which they may well do, we shall see. And down here, Harambe used his nimbleness to get round the individual Brock Lord and get into these Brocks, putting 3 damage on them, and the Trolls, quite disappointingly, only did 6 damage to this small unit of Brocks, so no kills there, unfortunately. And the Spitters decided they would try and block off this Brock Lord, and they did 3 damage to him. So hopefully they'll have slowed him down a little bit from whatever devious plan he has. And that was quite a long turn, so the Goblins are down to 25 minutes 43 at the moment, heading into turn 3. Dwarf turn 3, and as you can see, the flappy-helmed King decided he didn't want to continue facing off with the Morbeasts. He's instead gone into the flank of the Sniffs, but disappointingly he couldn't even re-waver them. Over here, the Brock Lord decided he was going to try and finish off this horde, but again he couldn't waver that unit, although something that was successfully wavered was this unit of Morbeasts. They were charged with a Battle Driller in the rear, which is never fun, and Ironclad in the front. Only 5 damage in total though, so they're fine, apart from that waver, which is going to be slightly annoying, but it does leave the Ironclad with their flank exposed to some of the Trolls now. Moving over here, There wasn't any charging in the centre because all the trolls were out of range. Here, though, the large Brock unit went into Harambe, 4 damage on there, and here, this unit of Brocks countercharged into the trolls, did a fair bit of damage themselves, and this Brock Lord went into the flank of them as well, ignoring the rather annoying spitters. So with that 8 damage, they were able to waver these trolls here. So that's unfortunate for them. So they're going to be a bit stuck. And we're going into Goblin turn 3 now. And there are plenty of charges open. Goblins still haven't lost any units. The Dwarves, I believe, have only lost 1 Brock unit. So the battlefield's still heavily populated, but lots of damage has been dished out. The Dwarves are down to 24 minutes, 8 seconds. So the Dwarves are going through their turns much quicker, and that's probably because they haven't had to do any shooting yet. Actually, that does remind me, this unit of trolls took 2 damage from a small amount of shooting from this Flame Belcher. Goblin turn 3 in the books. And down here, the Morbies have just made a beeline for the centre of the table. They're just running in that direction there. Down here, the Spitters wouldn't have been able to shoot, so they countercharged the Flappy King, but couldn't do anything to him. So in theory, he could actually fly if he wanted to, in a minute. Mr. Mounted Brocklord took a bit of damage from a triple tromboning and a lightning bolt, but as you can see, not enough damage, so he's still perfectly healthy, and he's going to have a tasty selection of targets very shortly. Here, the Rabble charged into the flank of the Battle Driller, but did 0 damage. Can you believe it? An entire Rabble, 0 damage on a little guy with a drill. Oh dear, oh dear. The Morbeasts wavered, so they couldn't do anything, but the Bigot is hiding amongst them, and then used his Loot of Insatiable Darkness to give Bane Chant to these trolls who had charged into this central unit of Ironclad here, but despite that, they only did 3 damage. The Bruiser in the flank of this unit only did 2 damage, and then in the one bright moment of the combat round, these trolls did actually kill off the already heavily damaged unit of Ironclad, so they're staring down the elementals and the rest of this dwarf stuff now. Over here, the Spitters decided to stay where they were and fire directly into Mr. Brock, and as you can see, he's taken a tiny bit more damage, but not much. The trolls wavered, so they couldn't do anything, and Harambe did more damage to this unit of Brocks. They're now up to 8, so slowly whittling them down, but will they whittle down Harambe first? We shall see. The Rocklobbers, the 2 of them had actually fired, attempted to hit the elementals this turn, but they both missed, so that makes a change. And with that, we're going into Dwarf turn 4. This side of the table is looking very Goblin heavy, but there are a lot of damaged Goblin units here that won't take much to kill. The War Trombones are still a big threat though. The centre's looking very even. It depends how the next round goes. And over here, it's looking better for the Dwarves, I would say, after this little unit of Brocks held up these trolls, and then that resulted in them becoming wavered. So that turned the tide a bit over here. We shall see how it goes from here on out. Still right up in the air, no Goblin units dead yet. Now the Goblins actually have 20 minutes 37 left, but I accidentally left it running while filming, so 2 minutes less than I should have there. So, end of Dwarf turn 4, and remember there were no Goblin casualties, and now this is the corpse pile. Wow, wow, wow. So, over here, those trolls, who were hoping to just steamroll through these Brocks and then join in the fight between the Harambe Bruiser and those Brocks, are now dead. And as a result of their failure to join in, Harambe is also dead. So, those of you who are Harambe supporters out there, you know who to direct your rage-filled emails to. It's this unit of Brocks. Over here, the Flame Belcher unleashed onto the Spitters, 6 damage on them, not enough to worry them yet. Here, these trolls were double charged by elementals and a battle driller, 8 damage, but couldn't waver them. However, units that could be wavered on significantly lower amounts of damage include both of these units here, the Troll Bruiser and the Trolls. Took minimal damage, it has to be said, from these 2 units of Ironclad, both becoming wavered. Wow, wow, so that has really messed up 1 or 2 things that the Goblins were planning. Speaking of wavered, over here the Morbeasts have become wavered after being charged by this Brocklord. You'll notice that the horde of Rabble were killed by a battle driller on his own, finishing them off. And then Mr. Flappy Helmet of Doom finished off the Fleabag Sniffs. This Flame Belcher flamed off a unit of Morbeasts, so they're gone. And the Goblins are not looking too healthy at the moment. Still got plenty of shooting prowess. All the Rocklobbers and War Trombones are still alive, and we know how potent they are. So we're going to have to start finishing off some of these units that have just got 7 or 8 damage on them. All the Dwarves have such high nerve, though, Hopefully they'll start to crumble over the next couple of turns. We shall see. It's going to be difficult when waivers left and right are popping up. In the one game where I decided not to bring the Dwarven Ale on one of my troll units. Also, the Dwarves have 14 minutes 7 seconds left after turn 4. Goblin turn 4. Now, the shooting was unleashed. One of the rock lobbers actually hit the elementals, doing 5 damage to them, but they're alright for now. These trolls here had the ingenious idea of relying on rolling very well, charged into the battle driller, who is exactly level with the elementals, hoping to kill him and then overrun directly into them. Unfortunately, they didn't roll very well, only did 5 damage and could only waver him as a result, so that's quite sad. So now they're stuck, about to get multi-charged again. Over here, you'll see this unit Brox has taken more damage from these spitters who just stayed where they were, fired up onto the hill, so they're getting pretty close to death at the moment. Over here, the war trombones spun round to face various targets. The battle driller took the brunt of 2 trombones to kill him, because the first one didn't do very well, and that one was Bane chanted successfully as well. And this one here, and a lightning bolt fired at Mr. Flappy Helmet of Death, and he exploded, so he's dead. So, some casualties, but they were individuals only. And you can see that with regeneration, these troll units are fairly healthy, and they would hope to survive the charges that are coming their way shortly. Going into Dwarf turn 5. Dwarf turn 5, you can see down here that the spitters are dead. They were charged by the Brox. Down here, this lord went into one of the big rock throwers, and that is now deceased. So some juicy killing done over there. And as we go up here, you'll see that one of the troll units is dead as a result of being taken out by the elementals. The elementals that are fairly healthy. Here, though, we had a double charge, front and side, these 2 units of ironclad into the trolls, but they only did a few points of damage and couldn't waver them again. So they did better against being fully surrounded, attacked from all sides, than they did just 1 unit in the front. That's just how dice games work, isn't it? And over here, some flamey goodness was dropped from the Flame Belcher onto the Troll Bruiser. Not much was accomplished, though. And over here, more beast deaths as a result of the Berserker Lord on the Brock. So he is a bit of a danger. The Dwarves have clear superiority in scoring units at the moment, but a lot of them are looking fragile. These units in the centre, looking like they're going to be charged with trolls, abound, and over here, this unit is at death's door with a rock lobber pointing at it. So we shall see how it goes. The war trombones still alive as well. They could play a pivotal role in this one. Going into Goblin turn 5. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, the Goblins have 10 minutes 31 left after turn 4, and the Dwarves after turn 5 have 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Goblin turn 5, and it's all in the balance. So here you'll notice that 2 units of ironclad are dead. That's because one of them was double charged by the Bruiser and the Trolls, annihilated. The other one was flamed repeatedly from behind by 2 war trombones, and as a result, dead. The other war trombone decided to take aim at the Flame Belcher, but could only do 4 damage, so unfortunately that is still alive. And the big rock throwers, both of them missed this turn, unfortunately. However, a lightning bolt from this whiz down here zoomed all the way across the battlefield to these Brocks, did 1 more damage to them, so they're at death's door. If they take another turn of shooting from anything, there's a decent chance that they will die. So they need to be protected, you would think. Of course, there's a small Brock unit here as well, and this Brock Lord still alive, who are also a threat. So, Troll versus Elemental showdown, probably coming up again. And then it's all about what the Dwarves can kill, because the Goblins have got quite a lot of shooting attacks remaining. The Dwarves do have a couple as well. Both Flame Belchers are still alive. One of them slightly further away from the action than the other. So, potentially the final turn coming up now. And you can see that the Goblins only have 4 minutes 36 left. So, both sides getting down there on the time, but not many units left, so if it ends on turn 6, we won't need those minutes. If it goes into turn 7, I think we could both be struggling with the old clock. Dwarf turn 6, potentially their final turn, and in a very unsportsmanlike move, I've been forced to move all my dice as a result of enemy movement. There is a secret zone on the battlefield reserved for dice, as you all know, and my opponent has violated that secret unwritten law by moving directly into the dice corner. Wisely, though, to get away from war machines and lightning bolts to hold onto this corner of the table here. And in the centre, you'll notice that these Brocks have got themselves so that they're just inside the enemy central area, which is worth a juicy 2 points if they can hold it. It remains to be seen. Down here, you'll see that this Brocklord killed one of the Rock Lobbers, so there's slightly less shooting attacks in potentially my last turn. And here, this Brocklord killed one of the War Trombones. 2 remain. The Flame Belcher had a go at Mr. Troll Bruiser, couldn't kill it though. And these trolls became wavered as a result of the elementals. It's looking very, very close here, and especially if we go to another turn, it's going to be even more insane. So we shall see. We'll get back to you after the Goblin turn, because you saw they became wavered. A couple of things died, not that much. There's only 2 minutes 48 left on the Dwarf clock as well, so maybe they'll be hoping for no more turns, but then the Goblins might be even more pushed, because, look at that, 4:36, and I've still got my turn 6 to go. Here we go. Goblin turn 6. And the Goblins have facilitated a bit of a turnaround in fortunes here. So, these trolls backed away just a little bit, which opened up a firing lane for this bad boy, Big Rock Thrower, which unfortunately missed the elementals. You'll notice that the large Brock unit here is dead though. That's because the lightning bolt did just enough damage to them. Despite the inspiring presence of the Brock Lord, they are dead. Also, over here, the Brock Lord that was being such an annoyance to the trombones was flamed in the side by this trombone, and that killed him. And this trombone flamed the Flame Belcher. It's flame on flame crime there, and that's dead. So, as it stands, because the Troll Bruiser charged into the Battle Driller and wavered it, so the Troll Bruiser is currently holding the enemy's central area, getting me 2 points. Both these units, one from each side, one horde from each side, have their majority in my central area here, so they're cancelling each other out. And these Brocks over here are holding this corner. So at the moment, the Goblins lead 2-1. However, if we go to turn 7, then you'll see on the clock, the Dwarves have got 2 minutes 45. The Goblins have only got 1 minute 34 remaining if there's a turn 7. So not only is that in the Dwarf favour, but also they would have first go at this combat here. And the Elementals would fancy themselves to take out the Trolls who are already heavily damaged. So it would definitely be in the Dwarf's favour if it goes to turn 7. If it ends now, then it's a Goblin win. So we're going to get the giant orange dice of doom. The drama could not be more intense. Here we go. On a 1-3, the Goblins win. 4-6. We continue and put our faith back in the dice gods once again. Here we go. It is a 4. We get another turn. Dwarves back in the driving seat. They've got 2 minutes 45. They've got to kill some trolls. The Dwarves' final turn, and it was a speedy one. So you can see here that the Elementals and the Standard Bearer went into the Trolls, and even though the Standard Bearer didn't contribute at all, he didn't hit, despite the inspiring presence of the Bruiser, they managed to kill off the Trolls with 1 minute remaining on the clock. So at this point, the Dwarves are now winning, because we're both holding the central area of our opponents, and the Dwarves have this one. So it's currently 3-2 to the Dwarves. So really what it comes down to, there's not too much that's complicated here. 2 War Trombones, and a Lightning Bolt, and a Rock Lobber. If all of that can kill off the Elementals, the Goblins will win. If it can't, the Dwarves will win. And I've got 1 minute 34 seconds, which should be enough because I know all the numbers for these units off by heart. So, high drama. Goblin turn 7. And as you can see, the 2 War Trombones turned round and just moved into range to shoot the Elementals, the Lightning Bolt, and the Rock Lobber. The Rock Lobber actually hit, and it did quite a few points of damage. I think it did 5 on its own. The Trombones did a couple more. Lightning Bolt chipped in with a little bit as well. So the Elementals are actually on double 1, and 46 seconds remaining for the Goblins. So I've decided to pause it, and for the drama, we're going to have this 46-second inspired double 1 dice roll coming up. So, this is an inspired nerve check, so I'm going to have to avoid rolling a double 1 twice to win the game by 2 points to 1. Should I roll the hallowed double 1, then the Dwarves are going to win 3 points to 2. So here we go. 2 chances for the bane of many a Kings of War player, the dreaded Snake Eyes. Here we go. The first roll. It is a 1 and a 6. Saw that 1 first of all. The panic sets in. Here we go. It's a 3 and a 3, so it is a double, but it's not enough to save the Elementals, who are fried and crushed by falling rocks. The forest could not protect them, and they are dead. Killed by, really, their own offspring. A giant rock landing on the rocks to do them in. Any parents out there, make sure your children don't grow to resent you, or this could happen to you. Right, so on the battlefield at the end, you can see the Troll Bruiser claiming the enemy's central zone with 1 unit strength, so 2 points, and then the Dwarves claiming this one with 1 little troop of Brocks there, so they get 1 point. So Goblins win. And what else is alive? Well, there's a Brock Lord, there's a couple of War Trombones, both Goblin individuals survived, which may be a first. 1 Rock Lobber survived, crucially till the end of the game, because it was able to land the blow that finished off the Elementals. A Flame Belcher is alive, a Standard Bearer, and a Battle Drill. So, massed casualties on both sides. Let's just have a look at this corpse pile over here. So all those Goblins bit the dust during this game, and in the Dwarf box, quite a lot of corpsery going on in there as well. So the Dwarves only ended with 1 scoring unit, and so did the Goblins. However, it was the placement of the Goblin scoring unit that won it in the end. And I have to say, facing off against the army that finished 6th at Clash of Kings, I think I can see why it did well. Because those Dwarf individuals, it's not like Goblin individuals where they can annoy you for 1 turn and then die. Because the Dwarf ones can be equally, maybe not equally as annoying because they're not quite as fast, but more annoying in the way that they survive when you actually hit them back. And this entire flank was killed off pretty much by 2 individuals, as far as I recall. It was a Brock Lord and the Wings of Honeymay's King killed off multiple units on their own. And it was only the fact that I had so many drops over here that they just couldn't spread themselves enough to kill everything, which is why I still had trombones left at the end. Just more drops, especially on this flank, saved it in the end. And on this flank, the Dwarves basically owned it, and it was just deciding where to send the units and where to gamble with in the end, because there was still so much shooting in the middle that it was a tricky one. The double Troll Bruiser, it's the first time I've tried it in a game. They're all right. I can see why people don't take them because they don't have the guaranteed damage output of something like the regular Troll units. But, as you can see, the Troll Bruiser did end up winning the game. So, let's have a word with the 6th placed Clash of Kings general this year. And this was the list, potentially going into the Masters with it as well. Are you thinking of making any tweaks before then, or you think it's solid as it is?
No, I don't. I mean, lost today quite closely.
Can't get closer than that, really.
No, I thought it was going to swing back in my favour, actually. I think perhaps I made a mistake sending that troop of Brocks into the corner. I probably should have brought them into the middle. They might have survived. I might have been able to get them in because we had the turn 7, so that was probably a bit of a silly mistake. That perhaps I could have got a draw out of it. But no, I don't think I'm going to alter the list because every time I alter it, it still doesn't seem to do any better. So this is the best list I've done so far. So I'll probably keep it. And like I say, the individuals, I've got quite a lot of individuals. It's 15 drops, which is the most I've had out of a Dwarf army that's still got powerful units in.
There's a lot of nerve packs in there as well.
And there's a lot of nerve.
Brock Riders with all that nerve.
Yeah, all the Brocks are obviously unwaverable. The Elementals are unwaverable. And the only units that are waverable are the Ironclad, and they're only 110 points anyway. So I think it's got a good balance of points to nerve, to cheeky little individuals. So my aim over on the right-hand flank was to try and take your scoring regiments out and then come after your war machines. I just couldn't get through them quick. Like you said, I didn't have enough for the amount of units you had. So I struggled to get through the regiments to get to your war machines. Because ultimately in the turn 6 and 7 of the game, Goblin war machines are just awful because they'll just take out whatever's left that's been damaged. Like they did then, they took the Elementals out quite easily. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with the list. Especially facing Goblins, because that's never easy. So,
and you do see quite a lot of Goblin lists with triple War Trombone as well, with triple Trolls. It's quite a common thing at the moment. Now, the only thing in that list that you don't really see, you don't necessarily see Rock Lobbers all the time, and of course the double Troll Bruiser, nobody really takes them. So there are elements from that can maybe be taken into future games against Goblin opponents.
Yeah, get to the Goblins quick and try and shut them down. Well, it's easier said than done, especially when you're Dwarfs. Not exactly the fastest army.
You do have the tools to take out the Goblin war machines, but I think I concentrated all my little annoying units down this end, and your little annoying individuals were kind of spread out. I think if you had more of them down here, you would have chewed through this flank quite easily.
The battle drills are fantastic, especially when getting them comboed into a unit with the brutal, but again, they're only speed 4, so if they're coming after your war machines, which can move 5 or 6 and shoot 12, it's pretty difficult to get them in there, to get them to charge in without you being able to shoot them off the table. So it's tough whichever way you look at it with the Dwarf army, I think.
Right, we've had some deep tactical analysis there, but of course there is the overriding story here as well, and that is that the goblins have found this prime spot. They're going to be digging for some of that dwarven gold that was pillaged from the Southlands recently, and that's going to be taken back to the goblin encampment, whereas the dwarves have just found a small little paltry sum of gold. In fact, it might be actual poultry. It might be a golden chicken located in this corner of the battlefield. So, goblins reign supreme. Let's get the left-hand handshake in there.